Great. Good afternoon again. I think it's great that we just came back from AfricaCom 2014 in Cape Town. I think one of the most interesting sessions we had parallel to AfricaCom was the Wi-Fi forum session, which was attended by all stakeholders in the country and everybody who is interested in the development of Wi-Fi in South Africa. I think what one would like to share is some of the discussions that we had there and the projections going into 2015. We've made a decision that on the 12th of March in 2015, we will convene an inaugural conference of Wi-Fi Forum. So we would like to invite everybody interested in Wi-Fi to attend this conference that will be in Johannesburg on the 12th of March 2015. Now, we had a lot of discussion in 2014. I think some of the critical issues that we discussed around Wi-Fi was the issue of standards, which is 802.11 AC, 802.11 AD, and how we transition from 802.11n, which is almost the standard that is today pervasive, that you see in every building. One of the things that we emphasized was that it is important that we must ensure that South Africa and the African continent must adopt Wi-Fi standards as quickly as they are being adopted everywhere in the world. We must not sell to people, or we must not acquire old platforms from other parts of the world which are almost being phased out. It's very important for us to ensure that the platforms that we install, the platforms that we build are very much, today's platform. This is also going to help in terms of frequency coordination and ensuring that we avoid interference between various users. Now, what is going to be the role of the Wi-Fi Forum? I mean, one of the things that the Wi-Fi Forum is going to be doing or involved in will be participating in all the global IEEE 802.11 standard discussions to ensure that as a country, as a continent, we can contribute to the development of Wi-Fi standards globally, and we can contribute to the debate of new frequencies that are required for Wi-Fi. For instance, the 5G, fifth generation mobile communications group that is meeting today in different parts of the world, called METIS, METIS, is looking at how Wi-Fi can be integrated in fifth generation platforms. This is something that has been debated within the METIS group. I mean, how Wi-Fi and the next evolution of UMTS or the next evolution of IMT 2000, or as we move from 4G, which is 2.6 gigahertz spectrum, to fifth generation technologies. Fifth generation technologies are expected, for instance, to go on trial somewhere around 2019 and 2020. And a lot of people are envisaging commercial operation of METIS standards or fifth generation standards just around 2022, going forward. Now, my argument is very simple, that as a country, we have delayed in the deployment of 4G for a variety of reasons. But those of us who are involved in the evolution of Wi-Fi standards, we want to make it a point that we should deploy latest technologies, 802.11 AC, 802.11 AD, as it is being introduced, for instance, in the market. A lot of OEMs are already shipping some of these technologies. So the critical question, I think, is as Wi-Fi Forum Africa and Wi-Fi Forum in South Africa, the critical adoption of latest technologies as they are coming out of standards bodies, and our role as Wi-Fi Forum in all the global debates, whether it is at IEEE 802.11 group or whether it is at International Telecommunications Union World Radio Conference, in particular the World Radio Conference coming in 2015. The issues of Wi-Fi and interference issues and the issues of Wi-Fi are going to be very critical, in terms of debates when it comes to WRC 15. So as a community in South Africa, we would like to participate and influence the direction of where Wi-Fi is going at a global level because of our needs in the African continent and because of our needs in the South African environment. The second issue that we discussed is that of infrastructure deployment. The critical question, I think, which all of us agree, is that Wi-Fi infrastructure, there must be coordination in the way we deploy Wi-Fi. Whether we deploy outdoor platforms in the form of street poles in townships, suburbs, urban areas, and different parts of the country. We need to make it a point that there is proper coordination and the application of standards in the way in which we deploy Wi-Fi in streets or in community parks or in different parts where these areas are public spaces. Similarly, the deployment of Wi-Fi in shopping malls, in areas where there is high concentration of people, whether in stadiums, shopping malls, or in gated communities. How we deploy Wi-Fi in a way that there will be competition at one level and cooperation at another level. One very critical player that as Wi-Fi Forum we will still need to engage with is government. Government at a local government level or government at a national or provincial level. The role of government is going to be very, very important, in particular local government institutions. We would like to ensure that we work with government institutions to ensure that the strategy of the country, the strategy of Wi-Fi community as we deploy Wi-Fi, there's no conflict between all these stakeholders. We all have seen the experience that we have seen in the optic fiber environment, that some of the disputes between municipalities and our community in the fiber deployment environment ended up in court. We would like to avert such things where we can have constructive dialogue with government in the way in which we deal with future deployment of Wi-Fi in public spaces. Now, one other critical issue we talked about is the issue of Wi-Fi offload. How, for instance, we or mobile operators can use the Wi-Fi community or can work with the Wi-Fi community to address issues of offload. It's very critical that all these issues must be done in a manner that there is fairness, that from a competition point of view, these things are seen to be done in a manner that the consumer will benefit, or in a manner that the infrastructure builders can be able to get at least the return on their investment in the way in which this deployment is done. So Wi-Fi is going to be the dominant feature in terms of access technologies for issues of Internet of Things or Internet of Everything. The primary way to connect into the Internet during the Internet of Things or Internet of Everything is going to be Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is going to play a critical role as we enter the environment of Internet of Things. So as a community in South Africa, we would like to accelerate the deployment of Wi-Fi infrastructure to the benefit of everybody, to ensure that as an industry we're able to work together, compete at another level, but at the same time we adopt standards that are latest, and that South Africa must never be we must never be a place whereby people will dump technologies that are no more used in other parts of the world. So, for instance, we do see, that everything will be Wi-Fi enabled. Whether you talk about cars, whether you talk about a refrigerator at home, a microwave at home, a camera, and everything, all devices, all equipment will be Wi-Fi enabled. So for us as a community, we need to make it a point that we are not just deploying this infrastructure for people to use Wi-Fi for their mobile devices or iPads to access the internet. We must take into consideration the fact that almost everything will be connected via Wi-Fi to get access to the internet. So we are looking forward to see you on the 12th of March in Sentin, where in 2015, where we will be debating standards, the issue of Wi-Fi infrastructure, deploying Wi-Fi in public spaces, and how, for instance, we can ensure interoperability and avoid things such as interference, and create self-regulatory mechanisms as Wi-Fi community for the benefit of our respective customers. We will ensure that all role players, all stakeholders participate in this conference, and they must have a meaningful role in the debate and in ensuring that as a community in building Wi-Fi platforms and standards, we can be able to do this thing together. As I've said, the primary means to connect into data, into the internet, is going to be via Wi-Fi. The evidence is there already. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you 12th of March in 2015.